Well, good afternoon and welcome to Overdevest Nurseries. It is, as you see, a beautiful day in springtime. There's a lot going on. We're busy sending out plants all over our region to our partnering garden centres, and of course what we're doing is sending out a wide selection of all different sorts of plants: trees, shrubs, perennials, climbers, roses, you name it, they're going out to the garden centre. And somehow, even though we're growing over 2,000 different varieties, there never seems to be enough. We're looking all the time to see if we can make improvements, if we can find better selections, and the whole idea, of course, is to make your gardening a little bit more successful. Well, today I wanted to give you an update on some trials that we've been doing here on the nursery that are really quite exciting and we think hold a lot of promise into the future, especially if you're interested in growing some rhododendrons. And I don't need to tell you that when you walk into a garden and see a beautiful rhododendron, or better still, a whole group of them growing there, it truly is a beautiful sight. That's why they're often called the aristocrats of the garden. But growing them here in this region, that's the mid-Atlantic and northeastern states of the US, can be challenging. We've got cold winters and hot summers. And traditionally, a lot of the varieties that were grown were ones that emanated from species that come from sheltered Himalayan valleys via gardens in the British Isles or on the northwest coast, places where it's cool and more moist and perhaps better growing conditions. And here, with our climate, it's important to be able to get plants that, of course, perform well. And we've been looking at a breeding program that's been going on at the David G. Leach Research Station in Madison, Ohio. Started some years ago by Dr. Stephen Krebs and now ably run by a young man called Connor Ryan. It's a program that brings with it a lot of promise, because you see what they've been doing is working on a species that comes from north central Taiwan, one called Rhododendron hyperrhythrum. Now this is a plant that grows in nature about 6 foot high by I think 10 or 12 foot wide, pink buds, and then when it opens, beautiful white flowers. Very nice. But one of the big things about it is that it's got resistance to rhododendron root rot, which wreaks havoc here if you've got less than ideal growing conditions for rhododendrons. So what they've been doing is using that species and then crossing it with various selections, including some of the ones that Dr. David Leach raised, which is why the research station is called that. And they've been creating hybrids, and we've been lucky enough over the last few years to get some of their selections for us to trial here in the nursery. Now, it's still early days, our trialing is still ongoing, and some of our findings are still preliminary, but already we're seeing significant improvement. And in these varieties, we're seeing that they're demonstrating a high level of resistance to that root rot that I was talking about. So I thought today what I'd do would be to give you a little sneak peek at what we're seeing at the varieties here, and there's 5 of them in 5 different colors, so that then you at least begin to understand and see what we're trying to do here, what the benefits are of modern plant breeding. And then when you go along to some of our partnering garden centres, you might just be lucky enough to see some of these beautiful plants turn up there, and you might want to try them out in your own garden. What's exciting also as a kind of side benefit of the parent of these species, that one that comes from Taiwan that I was telling you about, in that it is also demonstrating a greater tolerance to heat and sun as well. So we're excited to think that maybe, just maybe, we might be able finally to be able to come forward with some top performing rhododendrons that will give us, as you see, absolutely gorgeous color in compact habits, because these get to about 4 foot high with rich dark green foliage, as you see. They tend to spread out. The common characteristic is to spread out a little wider than tall. So think of them about 4 foot high and possibly going out to about 6 foot or so. Now, the one that we have been working with at the start is this variety here, which is called Holden's Pink Flare. And as you see, it's a really gorgeous variety. Nice big rounded trusses here, packed with lots of flowers. And when you look into the inside of each of the florets, you'll see that they have a beautiful flush to the back of it, which gives it a very nice, appealing view when you look over the top of that rounded habit. Lovely dark green foliage, bushy, compact habit. It really does look to be a beautiful variety, certainly very eye-catching. And then take a look at this little beauty, which is called, as you see, Holden's Pink. Now, incidentally, they've all got the name Holden in front of it because that's where they began life, at the Holden Arboretum. But as you see from this plant, it's very free flowering. Look, on these small plants here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 flowers on this. And they're nice, stiff, well-formed trusses, and each one, again, packed with lots of flowers, and a very appealing light pink, all on a compact plant with, again, nice, rich, lush foliage. This is also a very, as you see, eye-catching and appealing variety. And then as we move to the end, this one is called Holden's Fuchsia, a beautiful, rich fuchsia pink, as you see. Buds come out a very appealing light red. When it opens fast, it's got an almost reddish color to the flowers, and then when they begin, as you see, to form, this is a slightly flatter truss, but as they open, you'll see that they have this rich pink in it. A very appealing plant. It looks like this one will be a little bit more upright in its habit. Not quite as widespreading by the looks of things, but this is certainly also a very appealing, and I would probably say this is, I think, my favorite color out of the whole lot, but that's hard to choose. And then as I swing back in the opposite direction towards the rear end of the wagon here, take a look at this little beauty here. This is Holden's Peach. No prizes for guessing how that name came up. As you see, it does have a kind of peachy pink appearance. The buds come out, as you see, pink on there. Then as they begin to open, you start to see lemon yellow in the inside of each of these florets, and you'll also see that this one seems to be a little bit more compact and more squat in its habit. This one looks like it's going to be wider rather than tall. So this one's probably going to wind up at about 3.5 foot or so, and perhaps spread out to make a wider, more compact plant too. And then when you look at all of these trusses on here, it's also a nice free flowering variety with, again, lots of dark green lush foliage. And then the last plant I want to tell you about is this one, which of course is called Holden's Red. And as you look at this one, you'll see that the trusses on this plant are a little different. They tend to be shorter and squatter, nice florets inside here, tightly packed. When the buds emerge first, as you see, they are nice big fat buds showing a lot of promise. And then when this one opens, it has this bright red with a paler, almost pink center to each of the florets. Then when they open up, there's a flare towards the back of a lighter pink. A very appealing habit with dark green glossy foliage again, and this one looks like it's going to be a fairly upright grower, possibly I would say around about 4 foot high, but has, as you see, a nice free flowering ability, and therefore would probably make a nice eye-catching plant too. So there you have it, 5 exciting new varieties that show a lot of promise. The trials are still ongoing. Stay here on this channel. Check it out, because we'll be giving you updates on their performance as we continue with our trials. And also, of course, check out some of the other videos on rhododendrons that we have here on this channel too, because over the years we have come up with a line of the best performing varieties that we have found do well in our region here in our mid-Atlantic and northeastern states. This is David Wilson. Enjoy your gardening. It's good for us, and it's good for our environment too.